Or shot fire, officer down, shot fire, officer down. Got a city officer down, shot fire.
223, be advised, we have a visual on enemy paratroopers at grid Papa uniforms.
Welcome to the Resilient Warrior Nation, a podcast dedicated to inspiring hope and healing for first responders, military veterans, and anyone facing PTSD and trauma. Hey guys, welcome to another podcast episode of the Resilient Warrior Nation. I'm your host, Mike Morgan. Very excited to be here today with my guest. First, as I do every episode, I like to explain why I wear the shirt. UnaFraid is not a proclamation. This is a company owned by a man named Eddie Penny. He's a former Navy SEAL. And I did not realize as I sat down to watch an episode of the Sean Ryan show in the spring of 2023 that he was going to change the entire trajectory of my life. During that episode, Eddie was recounting the story of the Extortion 17 incident in which a Chinook was shot down in Afghanistan, killing all 38 aboard, including 17 SEALs. It was their largest loss of community in one event ever. Included in the dead was Jason Workman, Eddie's best friend. And as Eddie told the story, he was upset, rightly so. I simultaneously began thinking about a call that I had buried 5 years before. I'm a 30-year medically retired police officer, and that call consisted of a 2-year-old found floating in a pool. So as I listened to Eddie and I thought about that call, I began crying like a baby. At that point, I was retired almost a year, and I had been experiencing some depression, rage, sadness issues, just general unhappiness, but could not figure out the origination. So as this was going on, I quickly put two and two together and realized I had suffered some sort of PTSD in my career. I had no idea until this episode happened, and then realized right then and there I did not want to live with this the rest of my life. I've seen men who have done so. They hate everyone and everything. That was not the way I wanted to live the rest of my life. So I sought out healing modalities. I didn't think traditional therapy was going to do it for me at that point, and I kind of settled on psychedelics. I heard them get introduced probably about a year prior by listening to both Sean's and other podcasts. Kind of dismissed them quickly, didn't think it was for me. Now I really started paying attention to it, especially with special force operators coming back, self-professed broken men, and then their consequent healing journeys using psychedelics. So my wife and I journeyed with ayahuasca 2 years this past March, literally changed the course of my entire life. The universe told me as I was coming out of my first journey that my mission was to help other first responders and vets heal their PTSD and various trauma issues. I said, okay, having no idea how I would implement it. One thing I decided to do was start a podcast to do for others what Sean Ryan did for me. In that, I bring on mostly first responders and veterans talking about their stories, highest of highs, lowest of lows, in the hopes that you men and women who are going through it can identify and gain hope from hearing their journeys. So with that, I'm excited to introduce my next guest. He is Nate Morgans. No relation. I am singular. He is plural Morgans. Nate has devoted his life to serving others, both in uniform with the U.S. Army National Guard and on the front lines of the Tulsa Fire Department. He enlisted young, commissioned in 1998, and soon transitioned to the National Guard while beginning his career at the Tulsa Fire Department, following in his father's footsteps. In 2003, Nate deployed to Afghanistan for a year, leaving just days after the birth of his first child. When he returned, he pushed ahead without processing the emotional toll of deployment and new fatherhood. Looking back, he can see this is when he started leaning on alcohol to cope. A devoted father of three, Nate tried to manage the demands of firefighting, military service, and family life. By 2019, after deployments to the Ukraine, mounting pressure at work, and the collapse of his marriage, his drinking spiraled. A DWI and near blackout incident resulted in a 2-rank demotion and derailed the future he'd been building. In the years that followed, he tried everything: AA, leadership programs, 2 rounds of inpatient rehab, and repeated detox attempts to the VA. Doctors prescribed Ativan to manage his withdrawals until a psychiatrist told him they could no longer continue. Terrified of detoxing alone, Nate began flying to Mexico to buy the medication without a prescription, doing whatever he could to survive a cycle he desperately wanted to break. Everything changed when he learned about Ibogaine therapy from a close friend and fellow firefighter, wherein he applied to the 343 Fund for a first responder grant and was approved the next day. Ibogaine was the intervention that finally broke the cycle he'd been trapped in for years. During his Ibogaine treatment, he saw flashes of memory that helped him understand how he got so stuck. In the days that followed, years of guilt and shame began to lift, and the compulsion to drink finally disappeared. He describes Ibogaine as smoothing out the ruts in his brain and credits the 343 Fund's integration program with helping him build new pathways and stay grounded in recovery. When he returned to work, coworkers told him he looked 10 years younger. Nate went straight to the fire union and said, this is going to save lives. He has since helped connect multiple firefighters to treatment and now serves as a board advisor to the 343 Fund, working to expand healing pathways for first responders and their families. In addition to a board advisor, he is now something a little bit higher, which we'll talk about. Today, Nate is grounded, present, and hopeful. His 3 children are proud of him, and his mission is renewed. Nate took his last drink on November 21st, 24, and is now sober. Brother, welcome to the show, and you are no longer just a board advisor of the 343 Fund. What is your title?
I'm the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director for the 343 Fund now.
Nice. We're going to have to change that bio. Congratulations
Yeah.
on that. And,
Yeah, sorry the bio's not caught up.
No sweat. It goes, listen, you're going so fast through the ranks that he doesn't even have time to keep up with his bio. So I am truly, truly impressed, brother.
It's an honor to be able to do it. To be honest with you, it's something that when you come back from medicine, a lot of us are like, dude, I feel like I'm going to do something in this in the future. And Angela, when she was our founder of 343, she told me, she's like, hey, just pump your brakes and take a breath and sit in this for a good 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
And then just see how your life is. And I did, but it started off, I think in September of last year. She asked me to go to a fundraiser for Rob O'Neill, the Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill.
Right.
One of his organizations, and we got up there and I was talking to all these Navy SEALs and trading stories. They're like, hey man, where were you at? And I'm like, I was in Jalalabad in 2003. They're like, well, hey, I was there in 2003. I'm like, oh, no kidding. Cool. We probably just I probably made fun of you because you guys have great hair, So, and they kind of giggled the same way and just told my story and to some guys, and Brian Hubbard walked up in the middle of that and was like, we're going to make you a ambassador for Americans for Ibogaine. I said, I don't even know what that is, but okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and here I am today. I just got back from, doing legislative outreach for the last week. So
unbelievable. It's amazing where the path leads you. You just start walking and the path starts unfolding in front of your eyes. I'm 5 weeks out of the medicine myself. Just started a Being True to You integration, psychedelic integration coaching program. That's a year-long program for me. And, I wasn't sure where my path was going. This is now kind of revealing itself to me as well. So it's incredible what this medicine does for us.
Yeah.
So listen, let's kind of get to know you as a kid. Where'd you grow up? How'd you grow up? What was childhood like for you?
Oh, it's I grew up in Northeast Oklahoma. My dad was a fireman. Mom stayed at home. Typical, childhood. I was born in 78, so I was one of those early 80s kids, where we lived out in the country, and my folks struggled and split up and got back together, and it ended up moving us to closer to Tulsa. It's the closest thing to the big metropolis for us, and Tulsa's got its own grit and coolness that I still enjoy because I work there. And it was just normal. I went to, graduated from a suburb town, just a pretty normal childhood, I'd say, I guess. Knew that I was getting out of this town though, the minute, that I turned 18. As soon as I could, I was like, I'm bouncing. I'm not gonna hang out here. I'm gonna go do something else and, join the Army and never really looked back, to be honest with you. So
Okay. How was mom and dad with that decision?
they were fine with it. Yeah.
Okay.
They wanted me to go to law school. Today I look like a lawyer.
You do.
I mean,
You do.
I literally just got out of the truck from this legislative thing. So normally I don't wear a blazer for podcasts.
Nate Morgan's Esquire. It's got a nice little ring to it.
Yeah. They wanted me to go to law school, and I got accepted into that early commissioning program, and was able to commission pretty early, at 20 years old.
Nice.
And I initially wanted to go back to active duty. That was my goals. I had no intentions of being a firefighter. And it just wasn't in the cards for that contract. And they said, hey, you can do that, but you have to finish your first service commitment as in the Guard and Reserves. And I thought, oh shoot, man, I gotta go get a job. Like, this sucks. Like, I can't do this full time. I have to find a career. And
were they reducing the numbers in the military or something at that point?
yeah.
Okay.
They just weren't taking. I mean, you had different classifications of the scholarships they had for that commissioning program, and they just said, hey man, you're finishing your time out. The first hook is in the Guard and Reserves. And I said, well crap, I'm gonna go try to be a fireman. And at first my dad told me no. He was like, it's not for you. You need to go back to school and do that. And I went and got my EMT license, and he's like, okay, well, I'll let you apply. What's crazy is my son's in the application process now to be a fireman. So it's full circle.
Oh yeah.
Weird.
And you fine with that? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing that ever happened to me was becoming a firefighter in Tulsa. I love it. I love that job. It's like breathing.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's
I get to go to work. I don't have to go to work. I get to.
Yeah, and you don't work a day in your life when you love what you do.
Yeah, and it's this summer's 27 years for me with them, and I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I have no plans to retire.
Yeah,
I still do this.
Yeah. Don't get out until you have to.
Yeah, it's a good job. I really enjoy it, and but that's but there's a lot of space in between. When I went to, I think I drank more than socially. I was probably now that you look back at it, you're probably like a heavy to moderate heavy drinker for years. But when I came back from Afghanistan, it was an every day I was off thing for sure.
Okay.
So
was it prior to that, or it just started once you got back from that deployment?
I'd say prior to that, I'd be like a typical binge drinker when I was still in my 20s. So when you're in your 20s, you think you can drink like a fish. And,
oh, yeah.
You go to the bar with your friends, say you're going to have a few beers, but if you pour actual truth serum in yourself, you're having like 10 beers, right? You're not actually having a few beers.
Yeah.
And 10 is not a few. That's true. And then you drive home and, I probably deserve like at least 20 DUIs. Oh. As many times as I've driven just after drinking at a bar with my buddies in the neighborhood,
Yeah, I can imagine. There was a stat out there, like the first time you get caught, I forgot statistically how many times you've done it before. Just regular drinkers, these aren't even like, raging alcoholics. And it's amazing, especially when we were younger. There wasn't the penalties for drunk driving like we have now. I was lucky. I was one of the few of my friends. And the only reason why I didn't have one was because a couple of relatives were cops. So I had PBA cards and courtesy badges. But they would plead it down to reckless driving. So it wouldn't even be a DWI. And, it was nothing it wasn't too bad. Now, forget it, man. It's nothing to sneeze at. Between the fines and having to get the device in your car and
it's expensive.
Oh my God, you're probably looking at 15 to 20,000 when they're all said and done.
Oh, every bit of it. And I'm giggling now because that wasn't enough to make me stop drinking. But I'm skipping ahead, so I don't want to do that. But honestly, I drank to excess for sure for a good solid 20 years after Afghanistan. And I just considered it normal, and that's what it was. But eventually, it got to, and, I made chief, or I promoted through the fire department. So I made lieutenant at 5 years, captain at 7, promoted to a district chief position that I'm still in now. When I was 36 years old.
Wow.
And really fast. I mean, that's super fast. And so you start believing the hype, you're like, man, I'm kind of a wunderkind, I'm like, I could maybe run this organization someday.
Yep.
So I started thinking about hey, I'm going to start, going to the executive fire officer program. I did that, completed it in 2018, enrolled in a master's degree program, got a master's from the University of Oklahoma. And so all that was lining up and with a goal of, being the fire chief at Tulsa. I was the chief of staff for the previous fire chief to the one that is now. And that's when I got my DUI in 2019 and, derailed my whole life. My whole life. It wasn't the DUI that derailed my whole life, but it was the straw that broke the camel's back. I went through a bad divorce, moved out. This was in like August of 2019. And then I was basically living in an Airbnb for a few months. And on Veterans Day of 2019, I don't know how I got home. I had zero idea.
Really?
I woke up the next morning that every cop I knew in Tulsa had called me, and the fire chief, and he's like, "Hey man, we got a problem. You hit a car in a parking lot. You're in trouble." And so I got demoted, man. I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, they weren't throwing the book at me because of who I was. I was kind of a shit show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just was, it was.
Oh yeah. Plus, that was a city car, right? I'm assuming.
No. I was in a even crappier Jeep.
Okay.
No, it was, and I was, off and stuff. So,
okay.
But the position you're in, you're held to a higher standard. And ultimately I was fortunate to keep my job and take a two-rate demotion. And, I'll tell you, I say all that, Mike, to say this, that wasn't enough for me to stop drinking.
Yep.
All of that wasn't enough, because it was, that victimhood concept, everybody's against me. Why can't they just let me be normal? Why is my wife not love me anymore? Why is all this stuff? And that just kept going on for another 5 years ultimately. And I went to AA then, and I'd have chunks of time when I wasn't drinking. But that's not real sobriety.
No.
I mean, that's just me not drinking.
Yeah. And how was your relationship with the kids at the time?
Oh, good.
Okay.
I mean, the kids, that's the one thing that's, I've never, I'm so fortunate to have the kids that I have that are healthy and that they love me, and that, and it's really skipping ahead, but I saw that in medicine. I saw that real, true, unconditional love between the kids and me, and how real that was. And that's probably the number one reason I was able to forgive myself for all that stuff. But when we get demoted, at least in the past, it was more like a suspension of rank. So you're demoted to, I was a lieutenant for a year, and then I was a captain for another year. Actually 948 days, but who's counting, When I got re-promoted to district chief, I thought everything was going to be magically better, right? And it wasn't. It was the hardest thing that happened. So getting demoted was difficult, but re-promoting was super difficult because I wanted everybody to know that I'm better and that, I could, I'm fixed, guys, so I can go back to leading the fire department and doing everything.
Sure.
And I just wasn't there. I wasn't, and that's when I went to treatment, because I'd relapsed pretty hard. And I went and visited a friend of mine that's a deputy chief and told him I needed help. And he said, okay. He didn't say, how could you do this after all this? He didn't judge me. He just said, okay, man, we'll get you some help. And
did you know in your own mind you were kind of like a deck of cards, like in any second everything would come crashing down? Yeah, you had that awareness at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. You had to know because, like in the bio, it says, I tried to, once I went to treatment, I'm smart. I thought, I'm like, well, they treat, that to get you off alcohol and keep you from having withdrawals, all you got to do is take this Ativan, like, but you get, and you don't want to get addicted to that because that's addictive too. So, and I was fortunate that I never did, but, I had a regimen. If I go on a bender and drink for a week, I'd say, all right, no more drinking. I'm going to get off. Well, your body wants you to drink,
Oh yeah.
Once you've drank that long and that hard, you can't just shut it off. You shake like crazy and you feel sick and you're puking, and
Oh yeah.
and the only thing that would help that was either drinking, which you can't stop, you can't keep doing that, or take these these pills. And eventually the VA figured out what I was doing. And I remember it like it's yesterday, because this VA doc like turns the monitor around. He's like, look, dude, read this. See all this? I know what you're doing. Like, you can't, we're not going to give you any more Ativan. I'm like, God, you guys keep track of that stuff? Crap.
Just one more.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, I'll be, no, but even then it wasn't enough, because I just like, well, screw it. I'll just go to Mexico and go get it. And I flew down and visited some friends of mine in central Mexico. And I'm like, hey, where's the pharmacy? And I didn't lie to the docs there. They're like, what do you need? What do you need Ativan for? I was like, yeah, alcohol withdrawals. They're like, oh, okay. How many pills you want? 90. All right, see you later. And then I go back to Tulsa, and yeah, and I wasn't, doing it on duty, but that's still not holding your shit together. And
No.
when I was in treatment, there's a guy named Wade Hood. He's a firefighter in Arlington, Texas, and
yeah, he's one of the coaches that has been on pre and post with me so far. So, and just so you know, you're not alone in this whole thing, because I had an opioid addiction, went to rehab in 2012. So I don't want you to think that, I know that you've told the story a million times, but I was right there alongside you, different substance, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
And isn't it crazy how it's the different substance, but the story's the same?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like you do anything, like, well, I'm just smarter than the substance. I'll just go to Mexico and do this.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky. It was legal at the time. It was tramadol. So I could get it online, and then I had multiple doctors. So I'd go to some pharmacies and say I didn't have insurance. Then I went to my regular, because insurance wasn't going to pay for more than one script. And they weren't keeping track electronically of scripts at that time. So, I was made to shade. In my mind, I bargained myself. I'm like, if I ever have to go to the street, that's it. That's when I'm going, and getting help. So I knew. Again, I was a house of cards ready to fold at any time, too. Today's episode is brought to you by Cutting Edge Testosterone Therapy, a veteran-owned, family-run clinic led by a retired first responder. At Cutting Edge, they help men and women rebuild strength, focus, and vitality through advanced hormone therapy, peptides, and performance-based weight management. Whether you've served your country, your community, or your family, Cutting Edge helps you get your edge back safely, professionally, and with people who understand what service takes out of you. Cutting Edge offers individualized care with no monthly fees or contracts. Learn more at cuttingedgetestosteronetherapy.com. Cutting Edge Testosterone Therapy, built by those who serve for those who still do. The one difference with alcohol is that society, everything in society, everything in our jobs, you as a police officer, me as a firefighter, like, what do we do when we get together when we're not on the job? Oh, yeah.
Oh, we drink, And it's, to me, a drunk or an alcoholic was the homeless guy who would go get out of the gutter, You get a call for a man down call. You go up there and say, hey, buddy, you all right? All right, come on, get out of here.
Yeah.
Can't just lay on the street. That's an alcoholic.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not him.
Yeah, I was wrong. I was for sure an alcoholic, man. You can't. And the way I should have known is like when I had to wake up and drink to feel normal. And it was, then you're like, oh, that's pretty bad, man. We should probably pay attention to that.
Yeah. Maybe I'm a high functioning alcoholic.
Yeah. I don't, also misnomer. No, but it's, when I was in treatment, Wade was my roommate, this, the goofy guy from Arlington, Texas. And we became friends because we had very similar drinking patterns. Birds of a feather, or birds of a feather flock together. That's what I'm trying to say. And, he, in the subsequent years past that, I would be doing well and call him, and Wade would be not doing well, and I would be his accountability buddy, and same vice versa. He'd call me and be doing great. And he called me one day. He's like, hey, I'm going to go do this Ibogaine thing. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And he's like, well, you should watch this podcast. I mean, this, and I never did until he came back. And he came back and he's like, dude, you have to do this. This is for veterans. I feel bad that I did it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's Ibogaine. And I said, I'll look it up when I get back to Firehouse. And he's like, no, man, fill out this application. And he made me fill it out.
Really?
Like he stayed on the phone with me till I filled out the 343 application.
Damn.
Well, what's crazy is Angela's originally from Oklahoma. and she sees my address and she's like, "Hey, you live there in Bixby?" Because that's where I lived when I was a kid.
Just so I can interject. So Angela Scooten is the founder of the 343
Yeah,
Fund,
yeah.
which she
Sorry.
started when her husband, Casey Scooten, a former FDNY firefighter, was struck and killed by a tree when they were on vacation in Asheville, North Carolina. So just so people know who we're talking about here. And she is a
Yeah,
wonderful
sorry.
human being.
One of the best in the whole wide world. She told me, she's like, "Hey, you're gonna get a chance here. So if you keep your stuff together." And so I try to get sober. The reason my sobriety date is because it was the last day I could drink before I went to medicine.
Really?
That's how sick my head was, and and that's embarrassing to say, but I was not drinking before then. I just thought to myself, "Hey, this is the last time you can. Let's go get a 6-pack." And so that's when I started. That's what I counted as. But going to medicine. I was talking to my coach the other day, Mike, and her name's Heather, and Heather lives out there in San Diego and goes to some of those dinners that we do before we send groups to go.
Right.
And she's so funny. She liked to tell me how much of a jerk I looked like when I was there, when I showed up. Like, you were just so mad at everybody.
Really?
You could just tell that you didn't want to drink, that you wanted to drink, and you didn't want to be around anybody else. And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't remember being that way, but I guess I was, And
Were
but
you
like I was telling,
detoxing at the time, Nate?
well, obviously, I hadn't drank in 10 days.
Okay, it was that long. All right, I got you.
Yeah, so it was, I don't know. I think it was more of a behavioral thing. And I didn't believe that I was going to go sit through this, but after I applied, I'd watched Sean Ryan's podcast, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe there's something to this. And then I think he had 2 podcasts. There was one with him and one with Trevor Miller. So,
Yep.
and watched those, and I'm like, oh, maybe there's something to this, and I'll go and give it a good shot. And, most of the guys I went with were police officers, and we got along great. And the program has changed a bunch since then too. So like we didn't have a pre-journey call where we all met and got to rap a little bit. And now that core group, that founding of a group is super important.
Yeah, my group is fantastic. So just so people know now, so I went down with 6 other first responders, and we do pre-integration calls for you can do it months before. So that's not only your group; it's people who are going in the next few months. So potentially each person will say when their date is, so you kind of get to know who your people are going to be. And then when we fly to San Diego that night, so on a Tuesday I flew to San Diego that night. We met at a restaurant. All met in person for the first time. So we have a little familiarity with each other and each other's stories, and then just becomes even more so. Next day we picked up together as a group, brought to Tijuana, the house, and for the next 5 days we're together as a group. So, you bond pretty tight with these people, especially when from the beginning of that healing journey to the end of the healing journey. I love it because, you go there as total strangers and everyone's leaving there hugging and crying, and everyone knows each other's deepest, darkest, most intimate secrets. And you see the change I call them teammates, in your teammates over that time, and they see it in you.
You do. And like I said off air earlier, I was fortunate enough to go last week with a group that we were sending, and I saw it from the observer perspective for the first time. And talk about, walking into the Sheraton for the first time since then was like, man, almost 2 years ago, I was in a wholly different place, brother. Like it was like, it was freaky a little bit. And and you guys were your group, and this group went to the same house down there in Ambio called Coronado. And, like I walked in there and was just like, wow, you could just see it in their eyes. Like they're so hopeful and nervous. Like we don't know what's coming around the corner, but we're all at that point where like, we're going to try anything right now. The one thing we do know is we don't want to keep living this way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Nate, funny story. I just realized. So one of the attendees that you were with a male, was the husband of a female attendee. She was in my group.
Oh
I went
yeah.
to do a podcast. I did the Ian Bick podcast last week, Connecticut, and I met up with her. He came along for lunch, so we heard about his experience, and it was a great lunch.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Man, I hope he's doing good, dude. I'll
he's
have to
doing
reach.
fantastic.
I've got to get on some of the post calls, but uh, this like the last week since I've left them. I mean, I haven't, like I said, I haven't been at home for 2 weeks. This is the first day at home for a while, so
Oh yeah, moving to
I'm
group.
kind of stoked about it. It's what an honor, even if that's the last group I ever get to see go through this, which is obviously won't be. But like, I mean, we've got groups. I think I've got like 6 groups that are full right now for the next 3 months.
Nice.
And we're trying to figure out, which group I can go down there with, which group we're going to sit a coach with, and it's that's the business side of this. It gets a little it's crazy because we're trying to we all try to save money and raise money and get the most good that we can for the money that we have
Right.
every time. It's every decision's it's just like, all right, what's the most good we can do with this? That's it.
Yeah. So let me ask you, who we backtrack a little bit now? So people who are watching this who are not really familiar with Ibogaine and the whole process. So just talk us through it now. Someone is interested right here and now. What would they do as far as talk them through from going to 343, filling an application to getting to the house, and how is that process that we play out as well? So they know like soup to nuts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ibogaine's a psychoactive medicine, comes from the Iboga Tabernacle plant in equatorial West Africa. It's used extensively and has been used extensively for centuries in the Bwiti tradition by tribes in West Africa. But in the last 10 years, let's say, it's gained an enormous amount of street cred, actual research, results-oriented street cred in treating post-traumatic stress, substance use disorder, traumatic brain injuries, a lot of those things that our heroes, veterans, experienced while they were overseas, and then our heroes here on the streets, our first responders, experience every day. So anyone that's sitting here, I'll say this though, anybody that's listening to this podcast knows someone in their lives, whether they're a veteran, first responder, or just anybody that's struggled with mental health and substance abuse, or both. And I don't care if they're veteran, first responder, or just regular old citizen. If you don't have anyone else to call, you call us, and we'll find you someone to help. We just will. But if you're a first responder, meaning that you're a police officer, firefighter, or EMT, or paramedic, or something like that, or if I can just figure out a way to get you there, you call us and apply at 343fund.org. So this first step is applying with us. We do offer limited needs-based grants for the integration piece right now. We do have a goal eventually of raising enough money where we can offer full grants for medicine and integration costs. But at the end of the day, all of this does have a cost. The coaches, that's what their job is. That's their main profession is, integration coaches for this process, and I have to pay them. That's it. And they're great people, and they're doing it for way cheaper than a lot of integration coaches do it for, but I still have to pay them. So go to 343fund.org, hit the apply button, fill out an application. Someone within 7 to 10 days will be in contact with you. Your application gets approved. This might be a little different than how you went through, Mike, but then we send them to Ambio for their intake process. Now we've tried to streamline some of that a little bit recently. So, but once we have you approved, we match you up with an Ambio intake team. That's where you'll send in any of the medical documentation you have to send in, like your EKG or blood work. And then we'll assign you a date, not Ambio. So once you're approved in our system, we've got a series of dates that we have, or cohorts of groups to be sent. So, and then we'll typically have you there. Our goal is, once we have you approved, to get you to medicine within 90 days. Because ultimately, a lot of guys like me came to 343 in not a good place,
Yeah,
and
of
need
course.
to get to medicine quicker. But if you go off the street to a lot of these clinics and make applications just straight off the street, the likelihood of you getting in within a 12-month period is limited. Uh, the the clinic that we use predominantly is Ambio Life Sciences. Can't say enough good about Ambio Life Sciences. I mean, those people they're doing it right.
Oh yeah.
Uh, they really are.
100%. I couldn't believe the way we were taking care of Nate, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. I knew it was going to be good, but it surpassed my expectations. It's a very heavy clinical medical setting. We're in a beautiful house. It's like a 5-star house. Food is incredible. But at minimum, there's two 24-hour nurses minimally.
Yeah.
And then when we were journeying, I don't know how many medical personnel were in there for both our Ibogaine and our 5D MEO DMT. The care they took, the I don't know, just the process of going through everything that could affect us was incredible. They were taking vitals at some periods hourly, like
hmm
4 IVs. I mean, it was incredible. I was blown away, to be honest with you, at the
It
treatment.
was, I was too, and honestly, and seeing it, from the observer perspective, a week or and a half ago, or 2 weeks, whatever I was there. Um, Again, very professional. Medical doctors, registered nurses, and paramedics there all the time. This isn't a fly by night. People, the when I first became CEO, it was like a month and a week ago. It was when a lot of that violence in Mexico was going on. And so I was getting constant messages of people like, "Hey, is this safe to go down there?" Yep, it is. We've got people down there. It's in a decent neighborhood. It's a 30-hour drive to Puerto Vallarta where all that violence was going on. But
Right.
people just don't know what they don't know. We're going to go to Mexico and sit with a psychoactive medicine for the next 36 hours, and they have to have that level of trust. And Ambio is very professional, very squared away. But like I said, I can't say enough good about them, and they're a huge reason. Ambio is a huge reason of why 343 can do what we do,
Yeah.
which is get first responders to medicine within 90 days of applying. And it's without them, we'd be in a rough spot. We'd be fighting just like everybody else to get spots. So, but once you get, you get approved, you get sent in a cohort, we assign you a coach. That's the important part. Like everybody says that Ambio or Ibogaine is this fantastic miracle medicine, and it is. It is mystical and magical, and it's sent here by God. But the real medicine is in coaching
Yeah.
and in integration. And the other thing that we do, I would say as good or better than anybody else as far as 343 goes, is we prepare our groups to go. There's a lot of unknowns out there, and you've got an individual coach that's going to be preparing you to go. So our integration program now is 12 total sessions over a 12-month period, 2 of which are breath work sessions, very important, especially when you're in preparation for the medicine. 2 pre-integration individual coaching sessions where it's just one-on-one, you with the coach. What can I expect? What's it going to look like? What are the logistics? And then really shaping your mind to be in the right mindset for this medicine.
Yeah.
And then 8 more post-journey integration calls. And those are so critical to reshape the neural pathways and rebuild some positive behaviors to replace that break in the critical period that is open in your brain post Ibogaine, which I don't know. I've done some research and listened to a bunch of really, really smart people lately. There was a doctor I was with at South by Southwest in Austin. Her name's Gold Dolan, and she's a medical doctor and a PhD chemist, like
Wow.
one of the smartest people I've ever met. And she was explaining that the critical period in your brain post psychedelics varies depending on the substance. So with psilocybin, it's a week or two, maybe. With different, even she was talking about LSD and MDMA being like hours long, not even a week or something like that.
Okay.
Ibogaine's 90 days.
Yep.
90 to 120 days of your critical period is open so that you can rebuild those good neural pathways and replace that the way you've done things that were maladaptive in the past. So that's what coaching is so important and such a critical piece. But once you get approved, we explain all the logistics to you. You'll fly to San Diego. You can stay wherever you want, but we have them pick you up at the Sheraton in the marina in San Diego. Usually one or two cars show up, pick everybody up, throw your luggage in the car, and they make the 30-minute drive to Tijuana. Or it depends on what house you're going to. It could be another smaller suburb south of Tijuana too, but it's not a very long drive. Get out there, unload your stuff. Day one's medical in processing. Sure, everybody's still in that forming storming phase of building a team, like I was when I went. And after that, you get ready and you go to the sweat lodge, the Temazcal, man. It's an opportunity for you to, get some detoxifying activity, a real opportunity for you to be getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
In a hot pizza oven looking thing,
Oh, yeah. We did inner child work in the hottest pizza oven I've ever been in. It got intense.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
It's a long hour-ish time frame, It's but then, in the second day, they start doing individual coaching sessions and watch some videos to get your mind right and see what the process is going to be like. But the night of the second day is when you take the medicine, the Ibogaine medicine, and then as you know, you do that in a ceremony room, and you're pretty much there for. Some people are there for a 12-hour period, and some people are there for another 36 hours. And
yeah, it's amazing. I think the longest one of our guys lasted was about 2:30. So we take the medicine starting at 8:45. Then 9:15, 9:30, 9:45 is the fourth capsule you take. Some people will take a booster if it doesn't kick in, but most people are feeling the medicine around 11, something like that. He was in it to 2:30 the following afternoon, so that's how long it lasted.
Yeah. And, the day after Ibogaine is commonly referred to as the gray day. I saw a guy this last group, he was bubbly. He's bouncing down the stairs, ready to go eat. I was not that guy. I was in bed for 24 hours the following day. I did not move. They did the Reiki massage on me in bed, and I wasn't getting up.
How was Reiki for you? I thought it was hocus pocus going in. I am a believer.
So real.
So
real, man.
Yep. Some process. Yeah. It's inexplicable, to be honest with you. I can't believe what I went through. And at the end, she grabs my hand. She was so gracious and loving. And she just looked in my eyes and said, "You had so much pain as a child and you normalized it." And I'm like, "What?" Yes.
Yeah.
I've been crying that whole day. For some reason, I didn't just lose it. And I'm like, yes. And I was like, there was so much stuff that happened in that half hour. But as we both know, it's incredible. And I am a believer for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And then the fourth day at Ambio, if you opt in to do this, it's not a requirement by anything, but they do 5-MeO DMT, and for me, that was as impactful, if not more impactful, than my Ibogaine journey. And it's an individual decision for everybody, but at the same time, it was like. I think that's what allowed me to finally release all the guilt and shame that I'd built up for so many years, and made me realize that the only thing that's real in this life is love. That's it. I'd been wearing a mask. All of us do, a soldier, firefighter. I'm supposed to be a super tough guy. You know, I've been wearing a mask for my whole life, and that doesn't mean I didn't build up skill sets. You
Oh,
know, I'm, I was a good infantry officer for a long time, and then, I've been a decent firefighter for a long time, but that mask, was removed, set aside, and what replaced it was just love. And this, for me, that stuck with I've stuck with it. Like I got back and did my integration, but it's what drives me to what I do today, Mike. It's like I'm not I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this so that I can find more people like yourself and others who they don't have another option.
yeah,
This is it, Uh,
absolutely. It's funny. I didn't go down there intending on what happened. I mean, we both know that medicine gives you what you need, not what you want. But I thought I greatly healed 11 ayahuasca journeys, multiple hero psilocybin journeys. So I actually went down there. And the only reason why I even got initially involved in this was I was introduced to Angela and I interviewed her in September. She
hmm,
introduced me to Trevor. So I interviewed him shortly thereafter. Funny story. He was supposed to appear on a Monday. So he gives me a text on like Saturday night profusely apologizing, but he had to reschedule. He's got an Ultra MVP coming in the next week. Couldn't tell me who it was, but it was all hands on deck. So I'm like, absolutely no problem whatsoever. I know how busy, I can imagine how busy you are. So without fail, the following week, we record the interview. And I said, how'd your Ultra MVP do? I'm not trying to find out who it was. And, he said it was a great experience for this MVP. He goes, you'll probably figure out who it is eventually. So 2, 3 months later, Conor McGregor starts dropping
oh yeah,
social media, versions of his Ibogaine journey. So I texted Trevor. I'm like, you rescheduled my podcast for Conor McGregor, just laughing about it. And lo and behold, he's like, sorry, I couldn't say anything, but he had a great time. He was very healing, and so I started thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what, I want to try Ibogaine, thinking all my healing was done. Man, I could have been more wrong. I had actually gone for training 2 years ago, a month after my first ayahuasca journey with DJ Shipley's company. And DJ and I got into a deep discussion at the end of a range day. We were all alone for about half hour, 45 minutes, and we really just spoke. And it got pretty deep. And we were talking about how neither of us felt before. We just did not feel things prior to this journey. And then I'm like, DJ, I don't care what uniform we put on, man. You're a SEAL Team 6 guy, but you're a human being first. So am I. We didn't feel anything, brother. That's no way to go through life. We're just existing. And, it was just very, very deep. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I want to try this Ibogaine for myself. And I thought I had healed. And DJ told me one important thing. He said, I realized all my trauma was not from my career, it's from my childhood. I'm like,
Hmm.
bro, SEAL Team 6 guy, you've killed men, you've seen your brothers get killed, all this carnage you've seen. He's like, maybe 5 to 10% of my career. So I was still skeptical. And I thought, from my perspective, my career had caused 90 to 95% of my trauma. And then Ibogaine came along. And I thought I was mostly going down there to heal cognitive deficits that I'd suffered from that opioid addiction I told you about. And I'd suffered like 8 seizures in 3 years from Tramadol. Talk about like, no, that didn't stop me. I kept going with that habit. And again, I thought my healing journey had pretty much concluded. I wasn't arrogant, but I figured I could heal a little bit more. I got done with that. I was in the deepest, darkest, like depression and sadness of my life. And then 5-MeO came along and let me release everything. Just let it go. Actually, the words went across what I was, the scrapbook I was looking at during my Ibogaine journey. And I was like, I'm trying. And during the 5, I was finally allowed to release it. And I remember God's profile was like peeking in like this much. He was watching me. And I was just begging him to like, let me let it go. And I was crying like a baby when that finally ended. And I felt the most peace and bliss I ever felt in my life. And
Mm.
I was like, this was incredible. It was nothing that I could have ever imagined. And it forever changed my life. I mean, I'm 5 weeks post journey, and I'm going through like maybe a sad little period now in the past couple of days, but fine. It's something that I'm supposed to feel
Hmm.
and sit with. Not trying to escape it. I'm not trying to distract myself. Just want to sit here. Figure out why I'm doing it, what I have to learn, and that's what we should be doing in life. But we don't want to sit. None of us want to feel pain, so we distract when we take substances to dull. Like, it's incredible after we get this awareness. And I was talking about that on a post integration recently. I'm like, we are so lucky, every one of us. How many people, billions of people, are born, they live their life, they die, but they don't develop awareness. We all have it now. It's like a gift we've been given. And I will forever be thankful for that alone.
And it gets sharper. If you keep sharpening on that blade, it gets sharper, in my opinion. I just graduated with a purple belt from Wisdom Dojo, and talk about like mind blowing, the ability to like learn how to meditate and what breath work does for your body. Like, why would you need a substance if I could turn my central nervous system off of breathing? Like, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, it is.
And once they taught me the skills, you start practicing it every morning. And, when you're disturbed, and when you start, when you learn how to meditate, a lot of it's, the practice. It's called a practice for a reason. Catching thoughts in your brain as they come in before they turn into rumination. If I'm anxious about something, I'm living in the future.
Yeah.
I got to stay right here in the present with Nate right now. Or if I'm sad or depressed about something, I'm living in the past. Yeah, come on back to the present, brother. This is where I can be the best version of me today, right now. And that's what you got to do. And it highly suggest Wisdom Dojo as a graduate program to our integration, of course, Mike. So, like, you get done with that, man, start looking up Wisdom Dojo and enroll with them. And I'm going to reach out to them, actually. So I'm going to, fully disclose what I'm going to try to do. But I'd love to roll that into our integration program as a graduate level thing. Like, hey, go. I'm definitely telling everybody, it doesn't really matter whether they affiliate with us or not. But, like, hey, this really helped me. Because, as a man, especially a man, in the professions that we've chosen, if you see a guy sitting with his legs crossed meditating, you're like side-eyeing him right off the bat.
Oh, no doubt.
Either that or you're scared of him, like, hey, what's going on with that dude? But, somebody needs to teach us those skills.
Absolutely.
And that practice. And if you can learn it, talk about a game changer. Like, I've been given this gift with that medicine to break that cycle, to get to this place where I can keep sharpening my blade and keep being better. Shoot, I'll do anything. And it doesn't always lie in more medicine,
Yeah.
That's the deal. It's like, now, I say all that. Some people get called back, totally cool. We're not in the always or never business, right?
Absolutely.
So it's hard for anybody to say, hey, you'll be a one and done person forever. I can't tell you that. I know the only thing I did learn when I came out of Ibogaine, that there is a God and I ain't him.
Exactly. I experienced it myself.
I'm just a guy, man. And so it's what a gift that the whole process has been, and what a gift that I can today, have this length of sobriety that I have, it's not going to change the rest of my life. I'm not going to pick up, I'm not going to have that crazy idea that I'm healthy enough to have a beer with my friends.
Yeah.
I saw it. I saw I'm not. It's okay that I'm an alcoholic. People dither with that word, but it's good. That doesn't define you. I'm not letting it define me. I'm just a human, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I know that if I drank today, 3 weeks from now, I'd probably be in Mexico, and I've got, enough time off for the job. I got enough vacation. I can just take a couple of weeks off. I don't want that anymore.
Exactly.
What I want, what I desire more than anything else in the world is peace. And since I've been able to achieve it, and my kids are prouder of me, my girlfriend loves me, all the good things in my life are manifested in life because I've achieved a peace and taken care of myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not out there trying to be somebody else or wear a mask, and and the proof's in the pudding. I mean, I became a ambassador for Americans for Ibogaine. I started the Oklahoma Ibogaine Initiative. We've got House Bill 3834. It passed a floor vote in the House 3 weeks ago. We're looking to get seen in a Senate committee here in the next week or so.
Nice.
Today, this is big news for you and your audience. Today, the Intertribal Council of the 5 Civilized Tribes signed a resolution not only in support of House Bill 3834, but in support of Americans for Ibogaine and their American Ibogaine initiative. So that's, the 5 largest Native American tribes in the United States signing on saying, hey, these guys, whatever they're saying, it's got some real weight to it. We have to start thinking about this sickness of trauma and this destitute life that we've been living in differently. We can't dump medical, SSRIs and alcohol and all these other drugs at this problem and fix it. We got to think outside the box.
Yeah.
And
we never get into the root cause of the problem when you're throwing pills at it,
Nah.
number one. And this is our body's normal response to the abnormal stimuli that we see and go through on a daily basis for years, decades sometimes.
Yep. And, you could be mad about it and complain about it, or you could step up and do something about it.
Yeah.
And we did, and you have. And more people like us, more and more people like us are doing this every day. When I go talk to legislators, I impress upon them the important fact that thousands of our veterans have had to leave the country of the United States to go to Mexico to do this. And what a travesty that is, because in the 1970s, the Nixon administration decided to make Ibogaine a Schedule I drug. Schedule I drugs, by their very definition, are addictive, which you and I both know Ibogaine's not addictive.
No.
And has no medical value.
Yep.
Well, or purpose. What more evidence do you want besides a Stanford study, besides thousands of veterans who have come back and opted to not end their own lives, or thousands of people that are come back and put alcohol and opiates aside forever? That's enough for me to say, and that's essentially what we're trying to do with all this legislation that, Oklahoma's not that unique. Texas last year passed a bill that authorized stage 1 clinical trials. In Oklahoma, we're trying to do the same thing. 12 other states in the United States are doing the same thing right now. States like Mississippi, their governor just signed that into law. Missouri, Louisiana, Georgia, New Mexico, Colorado. I already said Oklahoma. Michigan's one, but I don't have a complete list. But there's a lot of states out there that are out doing this good work, and that's one line of effort that we're messing with. And obviously in the last month and a half now, I've got to worry top of mind all the time is 343 and raising money to send firefighters and police officers to this life-saving treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anyone hears these stories and wants to donate, it's obviously going to a worthwhile cause. It's changing the lives of our veterans, first responders in this case with 343. But it was funny. My buddy Wiz Buckley was on my podcast. We were speaking about what's going on with psychedelics, and he had a great line. He said it was the revolution, psychedelic revolution, was basically dismissed in the 60s because it was all hippies. The second revolution involves first responders and vets, and now people cannot look away because these are hardened men who are willing to give up everything, and it shows their healing. So you can't dismiss the results.
Mm.
Very important.
You can't. And way better men than me have gone and done this, and men and women. I mean, that's the other thing we cannot discount. So many female veterans and many female first responders have sat with this medicine as well. And it kind of feels weird because as guys, it's becoming more okay with us being vulnerable with each other.
Yeah, becoming a little mainstream. Slowly but surely.
It's not as bad as it was that I remember anyway. And I think some of that's platforms like yourselves and podcasts where they're like, you're seeing it, and when you see a famous Navy SEAL tear up and cry about something that's affected him, you almost intuitively kind of think, all right, well, maybe I can, open up and be a little more vulnerable as well. I think that's a best practice, and we should continue that. But that, the stuff women go through, man, it's as bad as, if not worse than what we go through for sure.
Oh yeah.
And uh, and on top of that, we all equally experience things in childhood that we've set aside or pushed down inside of here. We don't, it never sees the light of day until, we all expire.
Exactly.
That's the great part about this medicine, and what it did for us is like, when I did Ibogaine, you mentioned something about, this, you're worried about the things you've seen, or what DJ, was affected by in his particular thing, his journey. Mine, I was worried about combat. I was worried about things I'd seen on the streets as a firefighter, for 20 plus years. Or even worse, I was worried they were going to show me every sin I've ever committed. And, that was terrifying to me. It was just a bunch of childhood stuff.
Yeah.
And it just was. I mean, didn't make a whole lot of sense. Eventually I went to sleep, woke up the next morning, felt I felt really bad. I felt like I was so depleted emotionally and spiritually and physically that I couldn't do anything else, and slept for 24 hours and then felt great, man. It was, I don't know how it works. I don't know the magic behind the curtain, but it worked for me.
Yeah, pretty much everyone that I know has had like the same story. It's obviously it differs from their experience, the medicine and post medicine, but by the time they left that house or shortly thereafter, like their life has changed to a man or woman. And I've never spoken to anyone who hasn't had that same journey, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's inexplicable.
I'm honored to get to work in this space, to just keep bringing it to people that need the help.
Absolutely. Now let me ask you, if someone's going through it right now, Ambio's got a detox house as well, right? So if they're having trouble getting off substances, if they've been taking pain medication for 20 years, like, can you talk them through that process? How does that work as well?
Man, it's also dependent upon what they're taking, as far as the time and space distance between the last time they use or drink or that. Typically it's 2 weeks for alcohol, right? And it, if you're a heroin user, it's a different problem set than someone who's smoking fentanyl. Or I tell you, the thing that we're seeing more and more.
Kratom, right?
Kratom, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I first heard about Kratom on the job, and some kid got in trouble for doing it in front of his captain, and he said, "Hey, man, you can't do that at work," and he did it anyway, and ended up getting in trouble or something. Well, I was like, "What the hell is Kratom?" I don't even know what it is. Then I was at an AA meeting, because I still go to those. Just another knife sharpening thing I do.
Absolutely.
Every so often I'll go to one, and I met a guy that was his issue. He was like, "Hey, man, I was seriously addicted to Kratom." That's got a longer time you got to be off than other drugs. So if somebody's struggling, I think step one is, find somebody that knows what they're talking about in one of those 12-step programs, and go visit one. But step 1.5 is, hey, if you're a first responder, 343fund.org, apply, and let's start getting the process ready. What we're not going to do is we're never going to send anybody that's not ready,
Right.
to our knowledge and stuff. But none of the program that we cover, or any of the grants, or even financial needs based grants, would cover that detox, and that's a big cost,
Right.
from what I understand. So, but it's also very necessary, and it's necessary because the medicalized use of this medicine, they're not going to give you something that's going to put you in danger. This isn't a Walmart like situation where we're pumping you in and out.
No.
We're not doing this for speed. We're wanting to do the right medicine for the right person at the right time. So, I think the short answer is it just depends on what you're on, man. But typically, the big ones that we see, and we're seeing at 343, are opiates, alcohol, and kratom. More and more kratom.
Yeah, the heinous thing about that kratom, Nate, is everyone thinks it's this natural alternative pain medication, and then they're getting hooked on it. Like I was in a breakout room last night for my Being True to You course, and somehow it came up. One of the girls was like, I was so addicted to that. The withdrawals were incredible. She's like, I had no idea. She's like, I thought it was, basically holistic stuff, a supplement, so to speak. And next thing I know, I'm hooked on it. I can't get off. And she said it was the toughest thing I've ever gone through in my life.
I tell you, this is how much it made. It affected our founder, Angela Scudden. She lives in Long Island, New York, right? She went and lobbied and was successful at lobbying them, making kratom illegal in Nassau County this last year. She's like, that's enough. That's enough. I'm done with this stuff. We're gonna go talk to some legislators in Nassau County, and got it made illegal in Nassau County. I was so proud of her for that, because think about this. I mean, it's ruining families.
Oh yeah, it's expensive as hell too.
Yeah, it is. And you can get it at the gas station.
Yeah, exactly.
It's,
just like that K2 you used to be able to access at a gas station.
Oh yeah, and those guys were crazy back then.
Oh my God, it's like PCP.
Yeah, I'm glad that lost popularity. That was a good time to be on the job.
Yeah,
I was doing weird stuff.
Holy shit.
They talk about like the meth years back in the fire department when they were making meth in like 2-liter bottles and shake and bake days. Thank God for the cartel bringing that cheap meth in here now. You don't have to see that as much anymore. But
those rednecks making meth, man. Nothing like it. It's so weird, though. I remember we would see a little bit in Atlanta, because I was in Atlanta first 10 and change, and we would see maybe the after-hour clubs. But other than that, it wasn't much. Even up the entire East Coast, you really wouldn't see it too much. And it's amazing where the cartels used to kind of divvy up the nation. It's mostly a West Coast drug. You'd see the hillbilly heroin. They would make that stuff on their own, but you wouldn't see the cartels really dealing on the East Coast too much. I never understood it, because there was so much money to be made. It was mostly like they would say it was a gateway, not a gateway, a gay party drug. So they would use it, but I never saw, conventional drug users really getting into meth on Long Island. And I never understood it. There was so much money to be made. How come these guys aren't utilizing this market that's ripe?
I don't know. Yeah. That's some of your cop mind coming out. The fireman in me is just like, I just pick up the pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
I can find, that one's overdosing for sure.
Yeah.
We should do something
soon. Yeah, we had a heroin problem, man. That was incredible. Narcan every day.
I tell you, Mike, I'm still an active firefighter. And I'm a district chief, so I just manage a chunk of town, but that chunk of town, every bit of 6 or 7 overdoses a day. Like you'll hear them come out every day, all day. Hey, it's an overdose. Hey, it's another overdose. And everybody's got Narcan, including the cops. Cops are so proud of themselves when they narc somebody. They're like, hey, I did it. Good job, doctor.
Yeah, exactly. It got a little ridiculous. I think I Narcan one dude twice in a day. I'm like, bro, come on, man.
Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. Obviously, I'm speaking to a wall, but it was nuts. I remember one guy, this tennis instructor, just good-looking 18, 19-year-old kid, and we get a call, so we're doing CPR on him. Someone runs to his car, and I forgot what they found in there, but we knew what he was on. So Narcan them while doing CPR. He came to, and we carted him off. So the lady's like, is he going to be all right? I'm like, yeah, but you're probably going to have to get yourself another tennis instructor. He'd gone to this wealthy person's house, and he was instructing, so he got high before he did it. And I don't know if fentanyl was in there or what, but it wasn't too good. But it was amazing.
Now, after medicine, let me ask you a question and flip this script around. Are you more empathetic now?
100%. Yeah.
That you can see.
I was saying, I don't know how different I'd be as a cop now, because there's so much more empathy. And we're going back over the border. We're in our van, and this girl is probably like 12 years old, and he's carrying about a 6-year-old, and they're begging for money. And then right after that, another girl's wiping off side view mirrors, begging for money. And I look at everyone in the van. I'm like, so this is what it's like to feel, huh? I felt such profound sadness for these poor girls. And I would have had sadness before, but I wouldn't have felt like it did then. And I'm like, I can't imagine doing this job now. Like, the empathy factor would be up times 100, but Now I have tools to process, so I wouldn't just keep it inside, internalize it.
Yeah.
This time I'd be talking to people about it. If not, I have a therapist now, so I'm sure I'd have a
It's
therapist,
good.
even if I was
Yeah.
on. Yeah. I mean, like you said, you have to integrate these things, change people, places, and things. And there's nothing wrong with talking to someone, trying to figure
I,
out behaviors.
I went on another podcast that talked about recovering out loud and stuff. And actually, I put that into practice, at work, where I'm like, look, I know I'm an alcoholic in front of the guys, in front of the youngest fireman. And I talked to him about, hey, listen, nobody's ever told you this, but if you're measuring your weekends by 30 packs, that's a problem, little buddy. You can't do that. You're going to end up like me, having to go to Mexico and doing some psychedelic drug to figure out, where you're at in life. But like,
If you get
uh,
that lucky.
if you get that lucky and you're not, your whole life isn't ruined. And I was so close to that, Mike, man. I mean, and I was suicidal in 2019, 100%, had a plan, thought it out a bunch of times. Just now, a few years after, I mean, just almost 2 years after medicine, or just now I'm able to talk about what that looked like in my head and not be shameful and not, and can accept that I'm just a human,
Yeah.
I'm just a human person. I'm a meat sack riding a space rock,
Exactly.
in the universe. I don't even
Exactly.
know, man. It doesn't even make sense.
Nate, what stopped you in 2019 from doing it?
I've had some friends show up, came and got me at a lake that I was doing it. Uh,
Ah,
yeah, had a tent, a bottle of whiskey, and a pistol.
so many
And
stories.
it's yeah. In honest to God, the kids, I could imagine how they would have felt about that. Um, and I knew I was a messed up. I knew I couldn't stop drinking. It was such a catch-22. Like, I know I can be a better version of myself. I just can't get there.
Yeah.
I just needed that break, man. I needed that cycle interruption that I needed Ibogaine, and I didn't even know the word yet.
Yep.
It was existing. I knew, and I remember I was telling somebody else this week. And it was at that intertribal council. I used to brainstorm and Google, like, what pill can I take to make me feel like I've had 3 or 4 beers?
Really.
Like, that's all I wanted. I don't want to drink anymore.
Yeah.
You see it, the after effects, you stay, but there's got to be a pill out there that you could take to just make you just whoo. And what I know now is that the reason my anxiety level was so high is because my central nervous system was so supercharged all the time. And then I would drink, and that's what alcohol is. It's a depressant, and
Yep.
it's not a depressant in the sense that you become depressed. It suppresses your central nervous system to the point that you can just,
Yeah.
and it gives you. And then once you hit that slot, you're good, right? But then you chase that I'm good for 20 years. It takes more and more. And then when you go to bed at night and you wake up the next morning and you've got that what's called hangxiety, all that really is your central nervous system rebounding to this space that was like, oh, you basically wake up in fight or flight. You wake up in terror. The more time you spend in either the rooms or in this community of recovery, you start hearing people say that, and you're like, oh, that's now that I have these skills from, what I learned on medicine and what I learned in our integration program and what I picked up in Wisdom Dojo, I can regulate that myself with breathing. I can choose to do a belly breath superset and then like, all right, I'm good for now.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You
think
know?
that's a big mistake people make about PTSD. They think it's all in your mind, when in fact
No.
it's a dysregulated nervous system, and that sympathetic, which is the gas pedal, is just constantly pushed down so much. That's where we get the hypervigilance. We're just always in fight or flight, and it just doesn't come off. The parasympathetic, which is the brake, just never gets applied. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what happens. So people, mistakenly believe it's all these memories. No, it's not. It's you being there with that gas pedal. It's constantly in motion. You bring it
Yeah.
home with you, and that gas is not being applied, man. You're just not doing what we were just talking about. And days, weeks, months, years, decades of doing that, but it's gonna play a big toll on your body and life.
And you gotta it's just like the old school computers. Will date ourselves a little bit. When you start opening up too much crap, you'd have to control alt delete, go to the task manager and end all tasks,
Yeah.
right? That's what it did, right? And then you get to just choose what the next tasks are. And if you rebuild, I've said this on another podcast, but it cleaned my roads. I had all these ruts I was in. It just scraped the roads off clean and said, all right, go build new ruts. See ya. Go do good stuff. And if you do that, if you actually stick with integration, that's where the real medicine really is. Man, if you stick with integration and you're building those new ruts that are good, I can't explain how my life is so much freaking different. I mean, 2 years ago, I was a drunk. Today, I'm the CEO of a nonprofit. That's weird, man.
Yeah, it is.
That's not normal. Yeah, 2 years ago, I was, contemplating why I still lived here. And then, last week and this week, I was in the offices of senators and tribal leaders and, shaking hands with, the principal chiefs of the 5 biggest tribes in the United States and telling my story and them looking at me and tears welling up in their eyes and thinking, and the reason that they're not feeling sorry for me, they know somebody like me, damn it. I said the same thing to them. I treat everybody just like a normal human because we all are, but like, somebody just like me.
Oh yeah.
Send them my card. Here's my card. Give him my number. I don't care if they're a first responder. I don't care if they're a veteran. I'll find there's enough space in this to get somebody help.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There just is. Now, you and I care a lot about first responders because we did whole careers of this.
Yep.
And I don't know how many guys that you know of, and I know of a bunch of guys who'd still be living today, who'd still be alive today because if they'd had known the word Ibogaine or
100%.
understood the concept of integration. Man, my mission is as simple as it is. It's just to bring healing to first responders. And I'm going to do everything I can to do it. So
Yeah. I feel the same. Just tell my story, becoming a coach, whatever the case may be. Like, the universe told me I put you here for a reason. I made you look like this for a reason. So these guys and girls, you have credibility when you walk in a room. You walk the walk, now you talk the talk. It's funny, like, my buddy told me, look for the most visceral pain you're going through, look for the message, look for what you can learn. And even from my substance abuse issue, like, I never realized that's something out. And like, that's another tool in my toolbox. I'm talking to someone like, you can tell me anything. I'm not going to judge you. This is what I went through. So you think you're going to bring something that I never heard of or went through? Like, talk to me, brother or sister. You can tell me anything. I'll sit here, listen, no judge, and we'll figure out how to go from here. So, it's beautiful when you get into that room and they're actually going to listen. It's one thing if a clinician stands there on that podium, but one of us, they're going to pay attention.
yeah, and it's what the other thing is that the reason I like to go on these podcasts is that we get our message out, and everybody in their life knows somebody, and we've covered that extensively here. And there's people out there like that'll ask themselves, "Hey, how can I help? What do I do? How can I help this effort?" And I'm a strategy guy. I like strategic planning, and part of our fundraising campaign is strategic planning. And one of the 3 legs of this 3-legged stool of fundraising is for the price of a cup of coffee a week, $3.43 a week. You can help send first responders to this medicine. And it's really not. That's like you double that if you're getting like a serious coffee, like a latte somewhere.
Yeah, no doubt. I do that every month, and every month I see my Amex thing for $3.43. I'm like, it's nothing, but
Yeah,
every
it is.
one of those makes a difference.
If we could get 6,000 people in America to do that, 6,000. Right now we're at 100 people or less that's doing it. If we could get 6,000 people in America to give $3.43 a week, we could fully fund 120 police officers and firefighters. And when I talk fully fund, we can pay for the medicine, we can pay for their integration, fully fund 120 police officers and firefighters a year through Ibogaine treatment through 343.
It's almost $21,000 a month, right? For $3.43.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And that what it raises right at just shy of $1 million, and it's that's what it takes. I mean, Angela, funded this on her own for 3 years, and we've got to pick up the torch and take it forward. That's it. So I'm not afraid of asking for help, and I'm definitely not afraid of challenges. So that's what we're all about,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we're looking for corporate sponsorships. There's the other two legs of that stool is some potential donor dinners where people that regularly give money to 501c3s and nonprofits like ours, we can get together and have some first responders like you and I and talk about our experiences. And typically they surround themselves with other people like-minded who also give money to 501c3s like ours. So we're doing those. We're like I told you a little bit earlier, we're working with some other nonprofits to outsource our method and our madness of integration. Our integration program is best in class. Most of the clinics you go to, you get a max, 1 or 2 post-journey calls.
Right.
And then and that's not the role of the clinics, but a nonprofit like ourselves that serve a specific subset of humanity, for us as first responders, we want to hold on to those people for a 12-month period so that they have the best chance. We're looking at longitudinal recovery, not, hey, I felt good for 90 days in that Ibogaine glow and you slap them on the butt and tell them, good luck with life.
Yeah.
I want that. I want a true success story, longitudinal recovery. I want you, 5 years from now, still talking about your experience at Ibogaine and getting other people that are looking into it, leaning into this stuff. That's what true success looks like.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, brother. Well, I think we covered covered it all. Anything else you wanted to bring up or anything?
No, I think thanks for the platform. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
What an honor.
Loved having you on here. My honor to host you. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, just tell them how to do so. All the links will be in the bio as well.
Okay. You want to tell you? It's the 343fund.org, www.343fund.org. That's got my name and email address. My email is nate@343fund.org, and I'm very responsive. Our application's there. There's a button to click to donate there. Everything starts right off that webpage.
Perfect. All right, guys. Hope you liked the episode. If you do, hit like and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Nate, thanks once again. Had a great time speaking to you.
Thank you so much, Mike. I can't wait to meet you in person, man.
Absolutely. It's going to be my honor. All right, guys.
All right, buddy.
Take care. Thanks again.
Order, shot fire, officer down, shot fire, officer down. Got a city officer down, shot fire.
223, be advised, we have a visual on enemy paratroopers at grid Papa uniforms.
Welcome to the Resilient Warrior Nation, a podcast dedicated to inspiring hope and healing for first responders, military veterans, and anyone facing PTSD and trauma.